Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's been a while. Episode 24. It's a new year and New Year's resolution, more consistency, 2022.
And heal up the shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, that's irrelevant to them, but for you, that could be a New Year's resolution. Sure. Okay, we have a lot to discuss. We're not going to go through every single piece of news that's been announced.
Elephant in the room. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
And also, welcome back to Fruit Punch with Jack Dankoff and Cole. So this is a new studio we have here. Clearly, we're living together at the moment. It's a nice little COVID situation, and we don't have it. It's just family
Making big bucks.
Oh yeah,
totally. Off you guys.
Thank you for the ads, YouTube. No, so we're in our family's house, and this is the first time you've seen us sitting next to each other. So yeah, I mean, how lucky are you guys?
Not that lucky, but this is going to be fun. We have, as I was saying before Cole rudely interrupted, some news to go over, but we're not going to go through everything because there's just been too much since the last time we did this. However, we are also going to avoid reviewing the latest UFC event because Stephen Wonderboy Thompson didn't do as well as we hoped he would. So no point in, yes. Well, no, he's not done yet. Not giving up on that title.
Didn't he die?
No, he didn't die.
Oh.
That was Bob Saget.
Oh.
Rest in peace too. Fuck you, Sean Strickland. Not the right time.
I don't know. I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Just know when to shut up though. Could have waited a couple days.
He shouldn't have laughed at his own joke.
He should have said LMAO.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then he could have done like a rip thing at the end. I don't even think he did that.
Yeah, like a nice thing at the end. He's not smart like that. Anyway, we have a few fight announcements to go through, and we apologize for the unprofessionalism, but this is our notes on our phones. I'm not texting, I promise. I'm paying attention to you guys. Don't worry. So first on the list is Kevin Holland versus Alex Oliveira at UFC 272, March 5th.
Yeah, Cole did the notes today. I said, get every important piece of information you could. Somehow we wind off with two different people who have won how many fights in the last couple of years? I mean, let's not say last couple of years because Kevin Holland had one hell of a 2020. But is this the most relevant of news? No, but Kevin Holland is making his welterweight debut.
Kevin Holland's always relevant news.
Okay. And yeah, I think it's a good fight for him. Will he break into the top 15? Probably not. But if he gets a win here, we can definitely see a top 15 matchup. And his striking is something to behold. I mean, ignore the wrestling the takedown defense, which we've seen improvements with the Dalkus fight, right?
Yeah, this is a good test because if Oliveira, someone who's not wrestler heavy, like someone sort of wrestling heavy, if he can take him down and ragdoll him and win the fight that way, like Kevin Holland's done. There's nothing he can do with the amount of days that he has left and the amount of time he has for his career to be good enough to defend takedown.
And Oliveira's got great jiu-jitsu, right? But it's not his wrestling isn't, Kobe Covington or in Marvin Vettori or Derek Brunson.
Holland's good at jiu-jitsu. His weaknesses are wrestling and not being in the moment, thinking about talking too much instead of fucking fighting.
He closes his guard. He just doesn't close his mouth. That's the issue.
Yes. And honestly, he shouldn't be closing his guard.
Yeah. Well, Jacare gave up a little too much space, and that led to a cool knockout. What's next?
A big grappler heavy fight. We have Khamzat Chimaev finally making his return against Gilbert Burns. I mean, there's no better fight that we can ask for at this point in the welterweight division. Gilbert Burns can't really do anything because I'd argue that Vicente Luque, his like brother almost, is ahead of him right now in a way. And
for the title shot.
Yeah. So you might as well take out the up and comer who he's going to have to face someday.
And can we agree that this is a title eliminator? The winner gets a title fight?
Yeah, I think so.
And it's also in April, so I'm not saying Leon or whoever can't get it first.
I have to correct myself. I said a second ago, Luque is ahead of Gilbert.
Yes, but if Gilbert beats Khamzat,
then he jumps him.
Even though he's already lost to Kamaru. I rewatched the Burns-Usman fight at UFC 258 last February. Gilbert was doing very well. He found more success against Usman than anyone else did this year. I know Kobe went the distance and won at least 2 rounds, but overall, Gilbert with the knockdown and the heavy pace in round 1. I mean, I can't really condition your chin, but I think with some adjustments, that could be another competitive fight.
Yeah, and Brendan Schaub, he mentioned that his sources have told him that in training at
Sanford.
Hard Knocks 365, whatever you want to call it, that Gilbert Burns would get the best of him in almost every training session. And if you know fighters, you'll know they'll always say training doesn't matter because, you know, no one's going their best. There's so many, like they could have been in shark rounds or I forgot, I think that's what they call it, where like
Something like that.
you bring in a fresh guy every round. So you just keep going, and it's harder and harder. But who knows? All I'm saying is when the bright lights are there and, you know, everyone's watching, it's a different story. And clearly Kamaru is better in that environment. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with this Khamzat fight. I think Khamzat's wrestling is probably better. I think Gilbert Burns obviously has the jiu-jitsu nod, and striking, I think it's up in the air. We don't really know enough. I think this will be a good show.
Yeah, you know, Gustafsson, albeit he is Chimaev's teammate, recently said that he thinks he would put Usman to sleep with his hands.
Oh yeah,
which is, yes, Gerald Merchant, you know, he did knock him out in 17 seconds.
And also, if you look at Merchant, he's gotten a lot better and bigger. He's looking in great shape.
He actually is, but he's also been knocked out in the past, like by Ian Heinisch. But yeah, I'm not taking anything away from Khamzat. That was a clean knockout in less than 20 seconds. I'm just saying, slow your roll there. And this is a test.
I see what he's saying, because Khamzat has proved to have like high level striking. I know we haven't seen him against a high level striker, but like from what
we haven't seen him against, actually, respect to Jing Liang Li, but we haven't seen him in the striking game.
But from what we do know, he's got good striking, and Kamaru was never known for good striking. He is now because he's made improvements, but beforehand he was a wrestler. Like that was his thing, right? We didn't see him as a striker. So maybe that is where the fight would go. Maybe it would stay standing and that's what would happen. We'll see who has got the better chin.
Khamzat might want to keep it standing. Another thing I'm curious about, Khamzat's chin. I bet it's great. I don't know. I just bet he can take a shot, but he's taken 2 strikes, only one of them being significant in 4 fights, which is a stat on its own. I mean, incredible. But we haven't seen if he can take a shot. And the second thing, cardio. He hasn't gone past the first round. So let's see.
That could be the big thing. I think personally, I mean, obviously I don't have enough to base it off of, but personally my gut tells me that his striking and wrestling is better than Kamaru's. I think maybe the game plan with the striking could be better from Kamaru's point of view because he has Whitman. So that could change things. But I do think standing Khamzat and on the ground has a very fair chance, if not better chance. I think the differentiators is Whitman and cardio.
Let me ask you something, Cole. You're a betting man, a successful one at that, as much as I hate to admit it. We don't need to talk about Amanda Nunes. That'll come later. But Cole, Khamzat Chimaev, ranked 10. Gilbert Burns, ranked 2. Chimaev opens up as a minus 320 favorite, and it's going up. What do you think of that? Is it fair?
Is it fair? No.
Is it unexpected?
No. But I would take, like, from a betting's perspective, I think it's a close enough fight just because of what we don't know at this point, to take Gilbert because it's good value. But if you listen to Gustafsson, like in training camp, like Khamzat trains with the light heavyweights and heavyweights because he literally can't, like the other middleweights and welterweights can't go against him because they just get ragdolled the whole time. He's not improving. So if he can do that and apparently knock out Gustafsson in training.
Did he knock out Gustafsson?
Yeah.
According to who?
His job. So if that's the case, like he'll be the champion. Like I don't know what else to say. Like I'm scared for Usman and I shouldn't be at this point.
Well, you shouldn't be for 2 reasons. 1, we don't know him. There's no reason to be scared for him.
Usman? I've met Usman.
We don't know him. 2, he's the champion of the world and he's yet to lose in the UFC. No, you're.
Yeah, I have picture proof. I actually have.
He bends over a little bit. I look taller too, and I know I
bends over a little bit too.
Okay.
I had a hunchback then. Look at me right now.
What was that?
I thought I was hunching and I wasn't.
You're just showing your disabled shoulder to the camera. What's next, Cole?
Next we have.
Oh, sorry. That's April 9th, Brooklyn, pay-per-view, UFC 273, in case you missed it.
You heard it here first.
No, you didn't. But you did hear it. MMA Island, we were the first people to report it. It's everyone else who has to report it says courtesy of MMA Island. So good on you, MMA Island. Good on us. Yeah. Not that I had anything to do with that.
Speaking of which, not that we deserve it over the other brilliant journalists at MMA Island.
I think it's over, Cole. I think it's over.
Never mind. So
cut that out.
All right, next we have Lauren Murphy versus Miesha Tate.
And this was just announced.
Okay.
like a second ago.
It's a terrible reason to interrupt me.
Yeah, well, so was yours fucking 10 minutes ago.
No, I found my slot. You spoke over me. Lauren Murphy versus Misha Tate, UFC 273. Flyweight debut for Misha Tate. I mean, she was at beforehand, she was at bantamweight.
Yes.
So now she's at
She's
flyweight?
actually fought at featherweight in the past, I believe. I'm quite surprised she's able to make, I mean, she hasn't done it yet, but I'm surprised she's going to do that.
I'm really excited because, I mean,
That division needs her.
yeah, and Misha Tate's, she's great, you know, she's a great looking girl, but like she's a little beefy.
Oh my God.
So like at flyweight,
You said that, not me.
what do you mean? I didn't say anything. She's beefy. She's a fighter. She wants beef.
You don't want beef.
No, I want chicken, and I feel like that's what she's going to be eating at flyweight.
Okay.
So anyway, moving on. Big announcement, sad announcement, really sad. What the fight we've been waiting for a long time. Alex Volkanovski versus Max Holloway for the featherweight title. You know, everyone's been waiting for this fight. Finally, Volkanovski's, you know, won over some fans, made a name for himself in the Ortega fight. Everyone wants to see it even more after Holloway's performance against Kattar. It just makes sense. And we're all waiting, you know, grinding our teeth. And then Holloway gets injured. Like what? He doesn't even get injured. How
Well, he actually did this year before the Yair fight. I don't think, was it ever disclosed? Was it a knee injury? I don't know, but they said it wasn't a new injury. It was aggravating a prior injury.
Yes.
So maybe it's the same thing.
Maybe that's why he didn't look the same way
Against Yair as he did against Kattar. He's got to be careful with this. Alex said it. If he loses to Volkanovski a third time, his legacy isn't tarnished, but you can't. You're not the featherweight GOAT.
Yeah.
That goes to Volkanovski. Now, an interesting statistic here is if Volkanovski wins his next fight, which we're going to announce in a second, he will tie Max's record for the second most consecutive title defenses in featherweight history at 3. So that would give him another reason to claim he's the featherweight GOAT, Volkanovski.
That is true. Also, before we move on to the co-headliner of this same event, we have to tell you who's replacing Max. Not that you don't already know.
Well, it's looking like.
Yes, it's looking like we're going to get the Korean zombie, TKZ, Chan Sung-jung, you know, making his, what number title?
Second title fight.
Second title fight.
His first one, he dislocated his shoulder in the 4th round, I believe, against Jose Aldo. And he was a massive underdog. And in this one, I suspect he won't be too big of a, no, he'll be a big underdog in this one too, probably.
Yeah, for sure.
Short notice.
Short notice, not number 1, not number 2.
Only won one of his last 2. But he looked great in his last fight because he actually dislocated the shoulder again in the first round against Dan Ige and won every round afterwards.
He's incredible. Like when he's on, when his heart's in it, when his mind's in it, he's incredible. And I'm really excited to see how that fight plays out. My friend from Korea, Cusack, shout out. He's in the military right now, doing mandatory service on South Korea's side, of course. And he's so excited. I don't get to talk to him that often because he's like, you know, always busy. And he messaged me about the fight. I told him I'm going to come to Korea to watch it. And he said, I'm still not going to be able to watch it. Like, they're obviously going to put it on. Like, they're going to.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too sure, but hopefully they do. I mean, he's really the face of MMA in Korea. I mean, you had the Korean Superboy and Doo-Hoo Choi, but I don't think he's won a fight in like 5 years.
Plus, he was just never like as big. Like you don't
never.
Like I asked Cusack like if he's heard of him. He's like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
Chan Sung-jung.
He is the most famous T-shirt in all of MMA.
Yeah, he's also best friends with Jay Park, I believe, the BTS guy. So biggest like stars in Korea. So there you go.
Yeah, no, there definitely are other stars in Korea. We just don't.
No. Well, I mean, fuck, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now, but writer and director of Parasite. Huge star.
Yeah.
I don't want to butcher his name, but legend. Inspired by Quentin Tarantino. Anyway, co-headlining that same card, we have another fight we've been waiting a long time for. Hopefully this one stays intact. Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan.
Yeah, 2. Peter Yan minus 320 favorite. No surprise there. Nope. I think Aljo's going to shock a lot of people. I really do. You heard it here. Cole.
I'm so hesitant to say that. You know, I'm a big Aljo fan, and you know I do think he can beat Yan. I think he's got to start off strong, and he's got to risk it. He's got to roll the dice because going the full 5 rounds is not going to work against Yan. He's going to make adjustments, and he's going to win the fight. So if you want to take out Jan before you get sweaty, before the mat gets slippery, you go for that takedown the same way you got.
And you hold it. You don't go for you stay. It's about points. I don't really see him finishing you on. I think it's possible, obviously.
I think he can. I think he can out grapple him and out strength him in that first minute or first 2 minutes.
But he can't go as crazy as he did the first fight. He gassed himself. He has to conserve and not throw shitty spinning back fist or whatever those were.
He didn't exactly gas himself. He didn't go for it like he went for it against Sandhagen. He knew that he was going to gas himself if he did that. So he held back a little. And I think that holding back a little was too much because, he was still pushing the pace, but he died off towards the end. As you saw, he could barely stand up. So Jan made a stupid decision to knee him in the face. But I swear, like that's his only method of victory. You have to risk it. You have to go for that 100 in the first round. And if you don't get it, you lose the fight. Like that's how it is going to be for Aljo. I mean, I'm assuming from his perspective, he's got no choice but to tell himself that in a 5-round fight, he'd win it too, because he tells himself he's better in any way, as a prospective champion has to do to become a champion. But I don't know. I'm terrified for this fight. I'm not betting for Aljo. I'm sure I'll put him in a parlay just for loyalty reasons, but
it's a tough fight.
Yeah.
I heard a thing that Sandhagen was a
backup.
No, Aljo was a nightmare matchup for Sandhagen, and I think Jan might be a nightmare matchup for Aljo.
Yeah.
However, I'm still rooting for Aljo. I really don't get this whole thing. Peter Yan's a phenomenal fighter, top 3 boxers in the UFC. What I don't get is how many people like support him and like back him, because I remember him throwing a blatantly illegal knee and then raising his arm afterwards with no apology. I mean, that's like, what is this? Rocky 4? It's like
it's
mean.
very strange.
Like, I don't get why people like ripping on Aljo. Was he a little cringy afterwards? And yes, but one guy threw an illegal knee and then celebrated afterwards. And then like
it was more stupidity than it was like animosity or anything like that.
I don't know. I just don't get all the love towards Jan. I think
the love is mostly for his skill, because like no one speaks out about
his personality. Yeah.
It's just how good he is and how hot his wife is. So moving on, we have other news with Charles Oliveira. He is willing to move down to featherweight to fight the champ and move up to welterweight to fight the champ. I think what's more interesting to talk about now is the Usman Oliveira fight, because we still don't know who's going to be champ in the featherweight division, and I feel like it's a much more challenging fight against Usman than it would be.
Yeah, I think Usman beats him.
You think so?
Yeah, I think. Listen, Oliveira surprised me with beating Poirier. I was confident Poirier was going to win that. I'm super impressed by Oliveira.
Usman's takedown defense and chin are just both too strong.
And power. He's just bigger.
Yeah, but like
Oliveira fought at featherweight.
No, you're right. But the two things that counter out Oliveira is takedown defense and chin.
Yeah.
And Kamaru, I mean, from what we've seen, has maybe the best of both.
Yeah.
So, and from that, I think, you see who we think is going to win. Just to, for fun, Volkanovski versus Oliveira. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think would happen?
Which weight? Because Volkanovski's mentioned moving up.
I'm going to say 155. I don't know. Is that as impressive?
I think Oliveira's a bad matchup for Volkanovski.
Me too. I think if you see
he's like Ortega, but better.
Yeah.
More technical.
Better takedowns. So you see how far Ortega got, a smaller guy. I think Oliveira gets the win.
Me too. I think I cheer for Volkanovski though.
I don't know who I'd cheer for.
Me either, actually. I don't know why I'd say.
Same with the Usman fight. I think I'd cheer for Usman purely because he's on Whitman's team. But like, I think that would be tough.
I just selfishly don't like this whole talk about all of it, about GSP not being the welterweight GOAT. So I need to prove my point by if Usman loses,
that's fair,
to Oliveira, I think he's not out of the conversation.
But you gotta be less biased. You have to appreciate greatness, just like GSP does. GSP is going to get to a point where he'll accept greatness.
I just don't think he's greater than George St. Pierre.
That's fair. 2 more fight announcements. Unless you had something to say just now.
I did. The fights that we just spoke about, Volkanovski, Korean Zombie, and Jan Sterling 2, were originally booked for UFC 272 on March 5th in Las Vegas. Recently, that was moved very strangely to April, both of them. April 9th, the same card as Khamzat versus Burns, Brooklyn, UFC 273, also pay-per-view. Now, when Ariel Hawani, who reported this legend, he tweeted, they are co-headlining that card. Now, a lot of people, to me, that thought, okay, they're just like the main event and the co-main event, but people are saying they're both like the co-main events and there's still a main event to be announced for that. Now, I don't think that's what he meant, but if it is, that's interesting. That could be a massive card. 3 title fights, comes at Burns, come on, and more, I'm sure.
That could be very
Now, what about March 5th? Because there's not many title fights that can be booked on such short notice. The ones that come to mind, Rose versus Esparza 2, but could that headline a pay-per-view? What about, I mean, I guess Shevchenko doesn't have a fight lined up.
like for Rose and Sparza 2 to headline a pay-per-view is smart.
You need a
because
co-main event. You need a Covington Masvidal 5-round
I'm
co-main
sure they'll
event.
find something, but the thing is that's smart because the way the UFC business model works now is they just have to meet a certain quota for ESPN. You know, ESPN pays them, right?
Yeah.
But what they do gain is recognition from massive cards that everyone sits down to watch. So if they put those smaller pay-per-views and spread them across the year and save the good ones in a clump for one card,
Might be better business-wise.
that's better for the UFC, I think. I'd argue. And I think that's why they've been
And
doing
it doesn't matter to us because while people don't want to see Namajunas as far as a headline, a $75 pay-per-view, which we'll get to in a minute, we love Rose. We diehard fans, we'll watch the small cards. We don't care. And those big cards will be even more special to us.
Yeah.
We'll watch top to bottom.
Yeah.
Fight past prelims to the main event.
Before we get into the ridiculous news about the pay-per-view prices, 2 more fights. One of them I don't have much to say about. Rafael Fiziev versus Rafael dos Anjos.
Who's the best Rafael? Great fight. I think Dos Santos wins with his wrestling.
I think Fiziev defends the takedowns and knocks him out.
Okay, we'll see who's right.
Then big fight, terrible move by the UFC in my opinion, putting against your 2 biggest names in the heavyweight division. I wouldn't say they're prospects at this point, so they're not ruining prospects, but it's still interesting that they're doing this. Derek Lewis versus Tai Tuivasa, predicted by Ariel Helwani, arguably had them both on his show one after another, pretty much insinuated that they should have a fight booked. I think Ariel knew at the back of his head that it really already was booked, just didn't have confirmation. So he went ahead and booked them back to back on the show anyway.
It's a great fight stylistically. And I think Ty can get it. It could go either way. Lewis is opened up as like a minus 185 favorite. I love them both, but I'm rooting for Ty.
I think Ty wins because of ATT. I mean,
You mean
I mean
AKA.
AKA.
Also, Cole, just a random question for you. That's on UFC 271, February 12th, headlined by Adesanya Whitaker 2. It's in Houston, so Lewis's main hometown. February 12th, so it's coming up. Who's the co-main event? Is it Lewis Tuivasa or Cannonier Brunson?
Lewis isn't fighting in Houston again.
He is.
No, he's not.
It's been announced. It's been announced for this card.
What do you mean?
Lewis Tuivasa it's in Houston.
But I thought he says he hates fighting in Houston.
I don't care. They probably paid him enough money.
But he said like that was the worst thing that's ever happened to him. Like he said,
I don't know what you want from me. It's been announced for Houston. Lewis Tuivasa.
Sense. Maybe it's not as much pressure because he's not headlining.
Yeah, but my question is, who's the co-main event? Lewis Tuivasa, Cannonier Brunson.
Probably obvious.
Lewis Tuivasa.
Yeah,
that's
like
just
the biggest non-title fight the UFC can make right now.
That's not true at all. Covington, Masvidal, Ferguson, Diaz, Connor versus anybody, but whatever. Then Stipe versus John Jones.
Okay, the only fight possible to make right now. The only biggest fight possible to make right now.
Covington Masvidal is going to be made. You watch.
Yeah, that might.
It's not might. That would 1000% be bigger. That could headline a pay-per-view.
I don't know. I'd say Derek Lewis Tuivasa is bigger.
It's not.
Yeah, because like I don't know why, but I feel like Masvidal's not as big of a star as everyone thinks he is.
No, he's a big star.
Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. I definitely have doubts. So, regardless, back now to the shitty news.
Do we not have one more fight?
No.
We said them both? Oh, right. We did. You're right.
UFC not only raises their ESPN subscription price, which we don't have to care about because we're in Canada, but they also raise their pay-per-view prices to $74.99, up from $64.99, which is ridiculous, like absurd. They're already so expensive. And I mean, hey, people are streaming if you didn't know. So like, that's not going to help. But maybe they've come to the conclusion that the people who don't stream are always going to buy, and maybe that they're just going to get more money from those people. I don't know what they're thinking, but it's really important.
No comment. I think it's just not. I mean, there's obviously reasons behind it. They could probably get away with it. They're a business, but it sucks for the general public.
Yeah.
I saw something. It cost over $1,000 to be a UFC fan for 2022, which is obviously not true. Not everyone buys every pay-per-view, but
it's
tough.
if you're a real UFC fan, that's how much it costs.
Yeah.
But then the stupid thing is that like the fighters don't reap any benefits from the increase in price.
We don't know that yet.
Yeah, we do. I'm pretty sure it was announced by Ariel.
Oh, I didn't see that. Maybe you're right.
Maybe I'm not. Now I'm scared. So don't take my word for it. But I'm pretty sure that's the case. Yeah, because I mean, the UFC doesn't have to increase fighter pay, and they're gonna wait. They are going to have to eventually. So I think they're just waiting for that day and waiting to are cashing out until then. Yeah, that's pretty much it for recent news. Do you want to get into the card first, or do you want to?
No, we'll finish with the card.
All right.
So everyone's been doing this. We're a little late to the party, but there haven't been any UFC events, and it's 2022. So we're gonna give our awards for every category in the book, starting from the least caring category. Probably we'll start from the bottom up, kind of like the Oscars. We'll finish with best fighter.
All right.
Okay, cool. You got your picks memorized?
Yes.
Okay, I do too. I just want to get out the awards.
Oh, I figured you'd have memorized those as well.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Not that I expect you to.
We're gonna start off with a good one, and that is, you don't see this a lot. I haven't seen this. This is I've actually never seen this. It could be out there, so I don't want to say I invented it. But Fruit Punch with Jack and Cole brings to you a brand new award, best performance. Okay, because a lot of shine on the best knockout, the best submission, the best fight. But what about someone who didn't necessarily get the finish? Maybe he or she did, but just their overall performance was dominant and as close to flawless as possible.
Whoa. I didn't know that it meant dominance per se. I think best performance could also mean that they've went through adversity and still.
Sure, you can make it mean whatever you want. I mean, that would be wrong. I invented the award.
Yeah, but you didn't send it with a definition, so it was up for interpretation.
So do you want some time to think about it and not listen to me as I give mine, or do you want to just say yours?
I mean, personally, I think. Okay, you go and I'll argue after.
Okay. For me, the best performance of the year has to be the very first main event of the year. Max Holloway defeats Calvin Kattar via unanimous decision. I believe the scorecards were 50-22. Right?
Yeah. No, I don't disagree at all. That was by far the most dominant fight of the year, but most dominant performance of the year. However, best performance in general, I would argue, should include going through adversity and proving
go ahead. That's a fair point.
How good of a fighter you really are. Because in my opinion, Max Holloway is so much better than Calvin Kattar that it didn't exactly show how good he really is. If he were to do that against someone like Volkanovski, then holy shit, yeah, like
Calvin Kattar's ranked 5.
I know, but his strength is boxing, and Holloway boxed him, and to show that much of a dominance, like clearly he's way better. So my argument is, or my pick for best performance is also, I want to include stakes, right?
Yeah, just say it.
Alex Volkanovski against Brian Ortega. He was winning.
That's a great performance. You could have just said that.
He was winning the entire fight. The only situation where he wasn't was when he was almost caught in submissions. So I thought it was really cool to see that, Ortega, it's almost like fighting someone with a huge punch, like Conor or Francis. Like you can be outperforming, but then you get clipped by that one thing. Like there's nothing you can do. You've got to get through it. So that's the same for Ortega with his submission abilities. So if he was able to get through those and still win each round, I think that should go down as the best performance of the year.
Fair enough. That was a great performance. I think he lost the last round by a slight margin, but yeah, I agree. That's right up there. Especially considering how good Ortega is. Next is best comeback. Now there's 2 different awards for this. We're going to start with the fighter. So a fighter that's maybe been on a slump lately, or maybe just hasn't looked himself or herself and came back this year and just made a great comeback. So I'll go. Mine is Dominic Cruz. Obviously at the start of the pandemic, UFC 249 in Jacksonville, Florida. He came back on short notice to fight Cejudo after 4 years off since losing his second fight ever, like his second loss only to Garbrandt. And he lost to Cejudo. It was an early stoppage. He was finding some success, but it was his first TKO loss. He waits till March of next year, almost a year, and he, as an underdog, upsets Casey Kenny, who had looked phenomenal, this up and coming prospect. It was a split decision. I really don't see that. I thought Dom won every round. And then at the end of the year, caps off
one of his greatest
brilliant performance against a high-level fighter in Pedro Munoz. And not to mention, it was fight of the night on a stacked card, a great card. And this could work for both, technically. Best comeback in a fight and best comeback fighter, because he got rocked twice.
Yeah.
But every other moment than that, he looked amazing. I mean, he was.
But it wasn't exactly like he was winning, got rocked, and then was winning. So it's not like the best comebacks.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
But
I see what you mean. And my pick is the same. I have Dominic Cruz, but I do want to give a nod to a couple other fighters. The problem is one of them, Gerald Mearshart, after getting knocked out by Khamzat, he has made a big comeback. He's gotten in much better shape, gotten, I think, 3 wins since then. But the problem is his last win. It was a few weeks ago, sorry. And he was losing pretty much the whole fight until he got a submission at the end. I had him on my parlay, so I was fortunate for it. But realistically, I think he was lucky for that win. And so that's why I'm leaning towards Cruz. The other person I was going to take is Alex Caceres. He's making a huge climb. Seeing where he was a year ago. But the thing is, that climb started last year or the year before, 2021. Yes. So that's why I'm taking Cruz, purely based on his performance against Kenny and then his performance against Munoz.
Fair enough. That's a great one. Alex Caceres, I think he's in the top 15 right now.
Yeah.
So best comeback in a fight. So for me, it was Merab. Now, this kind of contradicts what you just said about how, Cruz was winning, then he wasn't, and then he was winning, because Merab was winning, but then he got cracked. And I think he's the only person in that weight class that would be able to take those shots.
Like the extent to which he got cracked and how many shots he took afterwards, and how any ref could have stopped that fight. And some specific refs would have. I agree with you, and I give Merab the nod as well.
Yeah, I mean, just
you could argue though.
Incredible, and he finishes Moraes, which people were criticizing.
Is this the best comeback in general?
Comeback in a fight. There was also Oliveira with Chandler.
That's what I was about to say. I don't know. Because of stakes, I might give it to Oliveira.
Yeah, I was kind of biased because I love Merab, but I think most people have that.
I'm gonna take Oliveira.
Next we have best rising stars, breakout star, whatever you want to call it. For me, I was considering this. I didn't know, I kind of want to say Michael Chandler, but he was already a star, just because he was new to the promotion. I'm going with Paddy Pimblett. I mean, there's Ian Gary. There's a whole lot of different people. There's what's her name? Casey O'Neill. Mm-hmm. She's phenomenal. And maybe one of the only phenomenal fighters at that weight class.
Aaron Blanchfield.
Yes. And I mean, what's his name? The guy, Chris Curtis.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And Alex Pereira. But, talking like the media, this guy almost has 1 million followers on Instagram. I'm going with Paddy Pimblett. He's got such a personality. The fight was incredible. He faced adversity. He had a great finish. And he's in the most stacked and exciting weight class, arguably, in the UFC at lightweight. So, yeah, you have him, trash talking Hooker and Oliveira. Let's see what happens.
I know my answer, but I'm thinking now.
Dustin, not Oliveira. Sorry. That's who he's trash talking.
First off, I agree with your answer. I think that's, a good answer. I would say that in second place, I have 3 fighters tied. And those 3 fighters are Tai Tuivasa, Ian Gary, and Chris Curtis. And number 1 is also Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah, I think Ty's been a star for a while, but he definitely was breakout.
Yeah.
This year was a breakout with the Greg Hardy thing. Anyways, next we have
Nelk Boys and
the Nelk Boys, the Shoeys, and then obviously the biggest winner was No, he did beat Andre Arlovski, but Augusto Sakai is no joke. And
Yeah.
he knocked him out. I was just gonna say, for our next one, which is best event, which is, I mean, this was for me probably the hardest. No joke. This was so many good events this year. There was UFC 268, which we had the privilege of attending. UFC 269, UFC. Well, I don't want to say UFC 264, but that was probably the biggest event of the year pay-per-view wise.
Who was
But
on it?
that was Poirier McGregor.
And who was on
30.
269?
269 was Poirier Oliveira, Nunes Pena, that whole thing.
Was it-
O'Malley.
Which one was like the crazy, like known to be crazy card? Like
There's so many.
everywhere, everything delivered.
So I think it's 261, and that's what I'm saying, which
no,
was
it's more recent.
then it's probably 268.
No, it wasn't.
Then it's 260, 267, Blackwoods, Teixeira, Jan Sanhagen. Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe
266.
Continue.
Mine's 261, and I had a lot of hesitancy. That's a word, right?
Yeah, hesitancy.
Yeah, I was hesitant to select this one because one of my favorite fighters didn't have one of the best nights of his life, and that was Chris Weidman. And I felt people saying, "Oh, couldn't have gone better." Like this poor guy. I mean, so much pain, his family. It's just terrible. And I was actually I love Dana White. I know you don't, but I love Dana White. And I was kind of upset.
I thought that was one of the worst events.
Because just listen, when someone sustains an injury like that, I feel like at the post-fight press conference, Dana came and was like, "Yeah, it was just the most incredible event." The first thing you should say is Chris Weidman's in the hospital. He's doing okay. Or, just give an update on your former champion. But, Dana didn't mean anything by that. He got Chris a private jet home. I just think that's the way it should be done.
I think business-wise, you don't want to talk about the thing that ruined the card. You
Yeah.
want to talk about
and then he tweeted something like, Uriah Hall's the first person to win a fight without throwing a strike. And I was kind of like, there could have been like a get well soon, Chris thing attached to that.
I'm sure he messaged him and stuff.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure he financially also took care of him.
Yeah. And business-wise, though, you want to make positive out of it.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I
That's true.
was just bitter because I love Chris Weidman.
Yeah.
And I love Dana too. I was just, yeah.
For me, it's an obvious answer, not only because I attended the actual card, but just the whole main card delivered.
Wait, we didn't even talk about 261. Sorry. It was, you had Jimmy Crute against Anthony Smith, which was a great fight until the ending, which was still,
yeah.
And then you had Shevchenko beating Andrade, showing that she's the best by a mile. Rose knocking out Wheelie in 117 seconds, I believe, which was just crazy. And then Usman knocking out Masvidal the way he did. Come on. And it was the first event with a crowd back, a full crowd. How's that not event of the year? I mean, I guess there are.
That's a big argument there. Because it was the first event back and like square in the middle of 2020, like after COVID. Yeah, COVID came back and, took us for another ride. But because of the card and its delivery, I think it's weird because I am giving my answer from a personal perspective because I went to UFC 268. It was a great trip. I went to New York. But then again, on that same card, like I lost a lot of money. Ali Aquinta lost. Fucking John Villante lost. Like for that reason, Frankie lost. For those reasons, I'm going to have to go. So tough, actually. I'm gonna go whole card, UFC 268. Main card, UFC 261.
Fair enough. And I'm also gonna give a shout out because the 268 prelims were phenomenal. Holloway Rodriguez, Vegas 43. No, 42. Vegas 42.
For non-pay-per-view.
November 13th. Yeah. Okay. Best
fair.
fight night.
All right, next one. Let's go.
Yeah, next one. Best coach. Okay, on 3. Okay,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Trevor Whitman. Done.
Yeah.
6-0. Easy.
Shit. Runner up. Khabib Nurmagomedov.
No.
Okay, continue.
That doesn't even deserve a nomination. Okay, next we're gonna do best round call. Okay, you go ahead.
Best round.
Yeah.
Best round. I'm gonna have to go.
Do you not know your picks?
I do. It was a tough one when I made it, so I switched it last second. Yeah, Gaethje Chandler round 1.
Yeah, fair enough. Just watch it. Not much to say. Just watch it.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know how this isn't. It's Volkanovski Ortega round 3. Volkanovski was like in 2 submissions deep, and he won the round. And it ended with Ortega barely being able to stand up. It was back and forth. It was exciting. And at any moment, it looked like either fighter could lose. And I think that's what makes the round of the year. It was also a title fight. The stakes were as high as possible. Next up, we have best upset. On three.
Sure.
1, 2, 3, Pena.
I mean,
Come on.
second biggest.
I said I was going to talk about this. I am mush. Bad luck.
Hey, I had so much money riding on Nunez.
Hold on. Yours sounds a lot crazier than mine. So let me say mine first, because your value was way higher. My story is going to sound like nothing. But fair. I'm younger. I don't have as much money. Or winnings. I never win, but I was very, very close. I could have cashed out and made $160 off a $10 parlay. All I had was Nunez by finish. That's all I had left. Cole said, wait, you'll make $180, an extra $20. She's not going to lose. She's going to finish her. It's minus 450. We all know what happened. In 7 years, Nunez hasn't lost. What the fuck? I had a feeling. I said this in other shows. You can go back. I still thought Nunez was going to win. I still thought Nunez was going to finish her. But I was less confident about this one than anyone since Cyborg. Because Pena has that style. I don't think she's ever been knocked out. Nunez's cardio has been her Achilles heel, and Pena's hasn't. And that's what happened. She literally locked up Amanda. She was throwing shots that, you teach on the first day at kickboxing. It was pathetic. And I love Amanda.
Well, I deserve reward for still being able to get out of bed in the morning. I put down $300 that night. All of my bets were alive. All of them were alive up until the Nunez fight. Only fights left were Nunez and Oliveira Poirier. I literally covered my bases. For Oliveira, I had him winning by finish in each round. So I had 5 different parlays, all with Nunez, and the rest of the fights were all correct. But those 5 parlays, one was Charles Oliveira finishes Poirier in first round. The other was second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round. Covered my bases there. And then the 3 parlays I had left aside from that were all Poirier winning outright money line. So no matter what, if this fight, if Amanda Nunez won, I was bound to win a minimum of $17,000. So when Amanda Nunez lost, I was pretty upset. Not to the point where I was screaming, throwing some TV or crying. I couldn't say anything. I was that upset.
It was pretty upsetting. And it also could have been such a better feel-good moment if Pena wasn't such a bitch leading up to the fight,
Ridiculous.
Even though I love Amanda, I could have been like, wow, good for her, but she was so mean.
Well, best submission of the year.
I'm going with Brandon Moreno against Davison Figueiredo in the rematch. Submission wasn't spectacular or anything, but Davison's such a high-level grappler and high-level everything. And the fact that Moreno was able to take his back and submit him and make him force a tap in the third round, he was dominant. And it was just such a feel-good moment right on the Mexican border in Arizona, right? It was just awesome. I love Moreno.
Yeah.
Is it the best tactical submission? No. Give some love to Luque, who submitted Chiesa. I mean, come on, with the Dars. But yeah, Moreno's rear naked choke over Davison Figueiredo, UFC 263. That's mine. So
my submission of the year, funnily enough, is actually Luque against Chiesa.
Oh, wow.
With the Dars, because Chiesa has great jiu-jitsu. He's known for his ground game, right? Whereas Figueiredo, as great of a fighter as he is, isn't known for his ground game. Amanda Nunes, as great as a fighter as she is, isn't known for her ground game. And Dustin Poirier, as great of a fighter as he is, isn't known for his ground game. But Chiesa, who is known for his ground game, got submitted by someone, Luque, who is not known for his ground game, but has proved that he's still good at submissions. It's not a fluke. Look what he did against Woodley. Look what he, you know what I mean? And in other situations, Pena versus Nunez, all hooks were even sunk in. For Oliveira Poirier, that was one of the most expected ways that the fight would go. And then for Rodolfo Vieira versus Anthony Hernandez, for example, Anthony Hernandez only got that choke because Rodolfo Vieira gassed out. Yeah, he's not. Vieira is a world champion jiu-jitsu, champion, but Hernandez is good on the ground too. So it's not impossible, but especially with the fatigue, it didn't even really count. So I think the clear answer.
It counted, but yeah.
You see it's Luque.
Yeah. Also, Guida against Santos was really incredible. That's a good pick. But at the same time, I do want to mention something that's pretty interesting with Chiesa. And a lot of fighters, you'll see with Oliveira, even though their submission offense is so good, their submission defense. I mean, Chiesa got submitted by Masvidal. He got submitted by Lee.
You know who else is
Kevin
like that,
Lee.
in my opinion?
Oliveira.
No,
Because Oliveira got submitted by Lamas, Pettis, and Miller.
I don't think he's like that anymore, though.
I agree. Who?
Pena.
Yes, that's a good point. She got submitted by Shevchenko and Durandamy, two strikers.
And not that long ago.
Yep, nope.
So moving on.
And she's a submission. That's her thing.
KO of the year. What everyone's been waiting for.
Usman Masvidal does it for me. So many good picks here. Just because Masvidal had that, like, same with the Diaz brothers. You're like, they can't get knocked out, especially in the way he did. Maybe a cut opens, maybe a violent TKO, maybe an early stoppage, but not like that.
I didn't see it like far outside the realm of possibilities, to be honest.
I did.
I think it's cool because it's a right hand, a clean one. We don't see that often. It was incredible to see. And yeah, you're right. Masvidal is known for his chin, and Usman
and his striking.
Yeah.
And Usman
isn't. Wasn't. Yeah, that's fair. I get where you're coming from, especially because of the stakes. But I am going to argue that a great KO is one that, changes the direction of the fight. And for that reason, also, I think it's important that it's flashy, that it's cool, that you don't see something like it often, right?
I know who you're going with.
And I know you know who I'm going with. And it's Sergio Pettis over.
Yeah, that was my runner up.
It was amazing. Pettis, he was losing the whole fight. But he set that up beautifully. That's exactly how it was meant to be done. That's how he did it in training. So, Horiguchi fell for it. That was one of the tools that Pettis had in his toolbox, and he used it perfectly. So it's, maybe a fluke, you could say, but he meant to do it. Like, it's not like he just went wild throwing punches. So that's my KO of the year.
Fair enough. I'm going with for best.
Oh, well, you got to announce it first.
Yeah, best fighter, female. You go first.
Best fighter, female. I think it's easy answer. I can see how it would be Rose, and I can see how it would be Valentina, but Valentina's competition just isn't high enough, and Rose fought the same person twice. So for that reason, I'm going with Juliana Pena. She beat Sarah McMahon, one of the greatest wrestlers in UFC women's history, I would argue, and also who had previously beaten Amanda Nunes in the past.
No, she hadn't.
Yeah?
No.
What was the argument then?
There was no argument. Nunes beat her too. It was just Pena being an idiot. Nunes
Really?
Nunes lost to Alexa Davis or whatever.
Oh, then maybe she was out wrestled by McMahon.
The argument that Pena made was that Pena beat Zingano and Zingano beat Nunes.
Right. That's what it was. Both two of the best wrestlers in women's MMA history. Anyway, she beat Sarah McMahon, who's no slouch, whatever the fuck word I'm trying to say, slouch. And then she went on to beat at that moment one of the greatest MMA fighters ever, not even just for women. So I think it's obvious that it goes to her. She submitted her too. She took the belt. I mean, what else can you say?
Not much, except for that I disagree with you, and mine is Rose, and I'll tell you why.
Because you're biased.
No, but the reason I give it to Rose is because Zhang Weili was looked at one point. She was the number 2 pound for pound fighter in the world, ahead of Valentina. Did I agree with that? No, but people were saying she was unbeatable, and Rose was a pretty sizable underdog going into that first fight. And the way and the manner in which she did it was just incredible. And then in the rematch, it's so reminiscent of the Joanna fights because she showed that she can knock them out, and then she proved it wasn't a fluke by winning a 5-round decision. And yes, it was over the same person, but Zhang Weili twice over Sarah McMahon at 41 or whatever, plus Amanda Nunes looking like she did. I think Zhang Weili is more impressive.
You mean, to beat?
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I think there's an argument for both.
I do as well, and I respect your argument. And honestly, it was a tough decision for me to make, but just because Pena became champion over the greatest, Nunes, it's hard not to give it to her. But my heart does tell me to give it to Rose as well. Last but not least,
we have 2 more awards. Cool.
We do?
Yeah, best male fighter and best fight.
Oh yes, best male fighter of the year.
Kamaru Usman, right?
I have Kamaru Usman.
How could it not be 3-0, 3 title defenses? Burns, Masvidal, Kobe, number 1, 2, and 6 ranked fighters in his
there's no
division.
No question about it.
Yeah, Oliveira is the runner-up.
And you could argue that Rose and Kamaru both win best fight of the year, so that's why you go back to best coach of the year. It's like,
Plus, Gaethje had what I have as best fight of the year,
yes,
which is crazy.
that is crazy. But so your best fight, that's your announcement.
Gaethje Chandler.
Mine is not that. I actually did something that I didn't tell Jack. I chose a best technical fight and a best brawling fight because I think overall the best fight should be one that shows skill.
Your
It
best
shouldn't be
technical
the
fight
best bar
was
fight.
Jan Sandhagen.
Jan Sandhagen by far. I would even give it the best fight overall. It just showed so much technical ability from both sides and was still competitive.
And Sandhagen came in on a short notice. And
yeah, and it's not like they were like stalling. It was a great fight. And then obviously best brawling fight of the year, Gaethje Chandler, also the runner-up overall.
I thought that was technical in its own right, but yeah.
It was a technical brawl, but I think only from Gaethje's perspective. I don't
know. Chandler used some great leg kicks, and he did have that one takedown at the end.
I don't think it was as technical from his side. He even admitted to it.
No, Gaethje's more technical in that fight, but I still think it wasn't like a, Clay Guida, Diego Sanchez brawl.
Yeah. But like Gaethje's game plan is to be a technical brawler. Like
yes,
it's different than I'd say the best fights are ones that show the best defensive and offensive skills, right? So for that reason,
it's not fight of the year by any means, but I loved Cruz Munoz. It was just such a pleasure to watch.
That's fair.
Okay. So now that we've done that, let's talk about the fights this weekend. We've been going through withdrawal. I have, at least, from no UFC fights. I need this.
Me too. Not even just UFC withdrawal, but betting withdrawal too. Bad.
I won't be betting anymore.
I haven't gone Uber Eats in like 4 weeks because literally, I'm not even kidding. Like, is it a correlation or a causation? I don't know, but like I haven't. And the only thing that I can, point out that's been different is that there's been no
UFC.
Yeah, I've been living at home, so I can get meals made for me too, but that's not important.
Okay. Let's talk about the event, Cole. Let's start with we'll just do the main card.
Let's do it.
Jake Collier, is that how you pronounce it? Collier versus Chase Sherman. Who's your pick?
My pick is, it's really tough because I don't like, Sherman looked like when he left the UFC, he looked better outside of it and then came back. But then he lost that fight to Orlovsky, which kind of gives me doubt. And like Collier I'm pretty sure he moved up. He used to be a lot smaller. And I forget who he fought recently. At the top of my head, I would stay away from betting on this fight, but at the top of my head, I'm going to give it to, I can't decide on this one. I don't know.
I'm going to give it to Chase Sherman.
Okay.
Brandon Royval versus Rogerio Bontoran. Rogerio. I actually don't like Rogerio. He's a bit of a dick, but I like his fighting style. He beat Matt Schnell, which was pretty impressive on short notice. I'm going to give it to Brandon Royval, though. He's such a nice guy, and he's just better, in my opinion. He lost his last 2 fights, but they were to Pantoja and Moreno.
Yeah. No. Royval has a very clear striking advantage. Bontoran's great on the ground, but I think arguably Royval's better than Kai Kara France on the ground. If Kai Kara France was able to get out of Bontoran, who had his back, and then knock him out, I think Royval can escape anything that he's put into. So I have Royval as well.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay. Caitlin Chikadze, Jennifer Maia 2. It's a rematch. I actually saw the first one live, and I wanted Chikadze, and I was quite scared when the decision went around. She won by unanimous decision, and I thought she did win, but it was a very close fight. And Jennifer Maia is the only person in Shevchenko's title reign besides Joanna to win a round against her, I believe. So I would like to see Maia, because she won. They both won their last fights. Chikadze won her last 2 fights. Chikadze's actually looked better than ever. Wins over Viviane Araujo, and what's her Cynthia Calvillo on short notice, I believe. So Jennifer Maia won her last fight against Jessica Ai, and if she wins this one, she might get a rematch with Valentina. So I don't know. She probably needs 2 more, but I have Jennifer Maia.
I have Caitlin Chikadze, mainly because of reach. I think their jiu-jitsu equals out.
Fight goes to the decision, though.
Yeah,
probably.
Fight does go to decision, and I think Chikadze wins by decision. That's my prediction. Maybe another deep body kick KO. Who knows? Last but not least, Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze.
What a fight.
Great fight. You go first.
I'm rooting for Calvin, and I think he can win. And I think people are overlooking him. I do think, is it Giga or Giga?
I don't know.
I think Chikadze wins probably, but the odds for him to win by knockout are like plus 110 or something, or plus 120, which I found disrespectful because I don't think Kattar's ever been finished. Look what he went through with Holloway.
The thing is, the biggest thing is that Kattar's got an insane chin and face, but
Body.
Chikadze's knockouts mainly come from the body.
I don't think they mainly come from the body.
Yeah, like his kickboxing.
Yeah, I just don't see. I see Chikadze by decision, which the odds for that, I can pull them up right now. I believe it's like plus 300, which is great odds. I'm not saying put everything on that, but that's a great. There's just such good value there.
To my own surprise, I agree. I have Chikadze by decision as well. I think
it's plus 275.
Yeah, I think they both have great striking. Sure, yeah, Kattar's pure boxing is cleaner than Chikadze's.
Yes,
but like that's form, like technical skills, like knowledge, I think goes to Giga, and also his striking overall, the kicks, like everything, elbows, kicks, goes to him, and then ground game, I think also goes to Giga.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's an easy win for him.
I don't think anything's an easy win.
Yeah, as far as that division goes, I think it's an easy win for him.
And if he wins this, he's only one away from a title shot.
If he wins this,
and then one more,
the only thing in between him and a title shot is Max.
No, he'll probably fight someone like Ortega, Yair, or
he will. Just because
Emmett or Allen.
Just because
Max deserves it.
Yeah. Max is next because he got injured. So yeah, those are my picks. I guess
I'm happy Korean Zombie gets a title shot.
Me too.
He'd be cool to see as champion.
For actual betting picks, let's get into it.
It's a small card, so we're not getting a whole lot here. But next week we have the heavyweight championship of the world and the flyweight championship of the world. So
that is true.
It's okay.
So first off, on our picks, I'm not doing the Vanessa Demopoulos, Silvana Gomez Juarez because I don't know who they are. No offense. I am going with a surprising underdog here. I don't know who Sadyokub Karamonov is. I imagine he is a wrestler coming out of Russia or Dagestan. So I'm taking Brian Kelleher at plus 130 because he's constantly improving. His striking's clean, his boxing, his hook, his jab, his cross, and then his jiu-jitsu, yeah, he has been beaten by guys like Ricky Simone who just, power wrestle him. But I'm giving it to him this time. I see a knockout, a left hook knockout or a guillotine. You heard it here first. Then after that, I'm betting against Dakota Bush. So I'm taking Vyacheslav Borishev. Dakota Bush is just not that great. I think he's in the UFC because his nickname is Harry. So he's Harry Bush.
I've seen that before.
I'm not kidding. I think that's why he's in the UFC.
That's not why he's in the UFC, but
I think it's one of the reasons. Anyway, then we have Gabriel Benitez minus 175 against TJ Brown.
I've got Benitez. So
do I. Hamiz Brahimaj, Court McGee. I'm staying away from that fight.
Hope Court McGee wins that.
Sorry?
Hope Court McGee wins that.
Me too. I would say it goes to decision. If you want to put that bet in, let's do that. Let's do it right now, actually. Joseph Holmes. I don't know who Joseph Holmes is. I generally pick against Jamie Pickett, but I'm not going to right now. Joe Anderson Brito. Don't know who he is either. Bill Algio. I do know who he is, but not enough to bet on him. Then we have the Chase Sherman, Jake Collier fight. Not betting on that one either. I'm playing it very safe this time around. I'm taking Caitlin Chukagian by decision at minus 120. Actually, take that back. I'm taking her minus 175 outright because that's not good enough value for decision. But I am going to take Giga by decision. 5-round fight plus 275. That's 6 picks for the night. I know not normally as many as I tend to do, but maybe I'll actually make you money this time.
There's only 12 fights. I guess that's not that little, but on the main card, there's only 4, which is very rare, especially to see on a fight night. Also, I have Brian Kelleher too. Just want to put that out there.
All right. So just to recap.
And Bill.
Vyacheslav Borishev against Dakota Bush. I have Vyacheslav Borishev minus 188 money line straight out. Brian Kelleher against Sadyokub Karamonov. I have Brian Kelleher straight out at plus 130. Gabriel Benitez versus TJ Brown. I have Gabriel Benitez straight out money line minus 175. Hamiz Brahimaj versus Court McGee. I have going the distance at minus 163. Caitlin Chukagan, I have winning straight out by at minus 175 against Jennifer Maya. And then last but not least, Giga Chikadze by decision against Calvin Kattar.
Yes.
Plus 275. That brings us to plus
If you're
five.
too scared about that, just do Giga straight up, right?
Yes. That brings us to a total of plus 5,175. If you're putting in $10, that returns $527.54. I'm putting it in right now. You can't see because it won't focus, but I'm doing it. So I wish us the best of luck. It's in.
Okay, that wraps up our episode for today. We will get back to you next week with a UFC 270 breakdown. Hopefully some exciting fight announcements as well.
Maybe a little bit of shoulder recovery.
Maybe. No one cares, but I hope you get better. That's it for today. Good luck, Calvin. Good luck, Giga, Chikadze.
What else is there? There's not much else.
There's not much else.
That's really it.
Let the best man win. Rest in peace, Bob Saget. You're a legend. And fuck you, Sean Strickland. Although I like you, you're just a fucking creep.
He's a weirdo.
Weird.
Okay.